Thank you for coming, both of you. My name's Samantha. Thanks for coming to the Crisis Center. I just want to remind you that mediation is a voluntary process. Anything you say in here will be kept confidential. I might take some notes through the process just to keep track of the information that you're giving me. We're going to hear both sides of the story, and then hopefully by the end of this, we'll be able to come to an agreement on how we can move forward from this process. How does that sound, everyone?
Sounds good. Fine.
Perfect. Do either of you want to start first? Do you have a preference on who talks first in this process?
Well, I'm the one who came here first, so
Okay.
I think I'd be okay with sharing my side of the story first.
Do you feel okay with that, Hannah?
That's fine.
Okay, awesome.
Okay. Well, I think the conflict all started when I started dating my boyfriend, Dave, and I feel like Hannah's just become really jealous, and I feel like that has put a big strain on our relationship. Like, I've even heard her talking about Dave, like, over the phone and just being, like, really rude. And she's just become, like, passive-aggressive. And she's, like, gotten mad at me for stuff, but, like, that I'm not doing around the apartment. But, like, she's not taking out the garbage or, like, she's not paying for, like, some of our necessities like toilet paper and dish soap and stuff like that. And I think the biggest thing that like kind of set me off was I went away for a weekend, and when I came back I found out that Hannah had let one of her friends sleep in my room and stay in my room without asking me, and I just feel like she's like not respecting my stuff, my property at the apartment.
Okay, so what I'm hearing Megan say is that she feels like you aren't respecting her property at the apartment, or possibly even respecting her relationship with Dave. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's the main two things.
Okay. So what's your side of this situation, Hannah?
So I think where it starts is that originally we had Megan had wanted me to move off campus and live with her in an apartment, but I had wanted to stay an extra year in the dorms. But she kind of persuaded me to move off campus, and so I thought because of that we would be closer friends, we'd be able to hang out more and do things like that. But recently we haven't really been able to like make dinner and like go grocery shopping together like we used to be able to do, and so I really like appreciated being able to do that. And now I feel like that her relationship with Dave, she just wants to be with him all the time, and she's not really hanging out with me, and I'm like having to cook dinner and do all the grocery shopping by myself, and like helping out around the apartment. She's never really like empties the dishwasher, and she doesn't really like to help out with the house cleaning because she's never really there, and so I think I just kind of feel like abandoned, a little bit kind of like pushed aside, because I thought that living together would be something that we would do as friends because that's what she wanted to do. And another thing that kind of upset me is that we had an electric bill that was due, and Megan didn't pay her half, and the bill is in my name, and so obviously if we didn't pay it on time, we could get late fees, and I didn't have enough money to pay for the whole thing myself. So then we just didn't pay it, and then so we're going to have late fees, and now I'm worried about what that's going to do if we're going to get in trouble. And so I just think it's been like I haven't really been able to talk to her because she's never at the apartment.
Okay, so what I'm hearing Hannah say is that she feels like Dave is taking more of a precedent in Megan's life than she is. So when did you start dating Dave? Was it before you guys agreed to live together, or was that after you agreed?
I think it was like right around the same time.
Okay. So did you have those feelings like kind of going into this? Because you said, I wasn't really sure that I wanted to live off campus. So what was kind of holding you back?
I don't mean to interrupt you. Let me clarify that. We had started, I think, dating when we talked about this, but things didn't get real serious until we actually moved in together. So when Hannah and I moved in together.
Perfect. So there could have been feelings before, some feelings of this as you started this process.
Possibly. I mean, Yeah, I don't really know. I mean, we were really excited to live together, and it seemed like a really good idea. And then it seemed like it was good for a few weeks, and then it kind of like went downhill, and like she wasn't really there, and then like she was with Dave all the time, and so then like she would get upset at me when I would have friends over, and like she would have been with Dave, and so she felt like maybe she wasn't included. So it was kind of just like this weird. Well, since you're not here, I'm hanging out with my other friends that I've made at college, and so.
So how does it make you feel when there's a situation that you feel Megan's picking Dave over you?
I mean, I respect their relationship, and so I want them to be able to hang out. But I also know that like we live together, and so spending time with like my roommate is important to me, and especially like when we're living together and having the responsibilities of that. It's important to like hold each other accountable, and I feel like lately it's just been like me doing this stuff and not so much of her because she's never there.
Okay, so what is, if we're trying to come to an agreement on moving forward, is maintaining a living situation with Megan something you want?
I mean, yeah, I would like to, because it's not like I don't want to be her roommate anymore. It's that I just would rather like us kind of be able to work through this and like, you know, find a balance between like our relationship. It's not like I want to ruin our relationship or her relationship with Dave.
Okay, and moving forward, do you want to continue living with Hannah?
Absolutely. I just feel like with Hannah, it's like an all or nothing friendship.
Okay.
And it's like if I'm not like giving 100% to her, then it's like it's not a good situation. But absolutely, and like she just said, like I think it's just understanding the balance that we need to come to with us having other friends or boyfriends or whatever.
So what does that balance look like for you with the relationship with Dave and Hannah?
Well, it's just really hard because I'm also working 20 hours a week and I'm taking 18 credits and I just don't have a whole lot of time for socialization. And so it's like, I don't know what that looks like to have a boyfriend and have a roommate and have other friends and work and keep my grades up. So I don't know. I would like to hear from maybe Hannah what her expectations would be in terms of that.
Definitely. So it sounds like you have a lot on your plate to begin with.
Yes.
So what does that balance look like for you? Because obviously we're at an understanding that we both want to continue to live together.
Yes.
So what does that balance look like for you? Did you know that she had all of these other things on her plate as well? Or is that new news to you?
I mean, I think I knew about like some of them. Obviously, you know, like we've been friends before, so we knew that like we both care about like school, and so we knew that like that's an important thing. And now that we're like living on, you know, outside of the residence hall, like, you know, having a job is important. And so I think that like we both know that like we have more things than just each other in our lives. And so I think that like going forward, it would be nice to like not necessarily like have like a schedule of when like every Monday we do this, but like knowing that like maybe, you know, like we know that a couple times a week or something, or a month or whatever, that we are going to like cook dinner together or do something like that, or even like have like Dave over for dinner.
So what I'm hearing Hannah say is that maybe she would like to schedule something out. So maybe you guys agree to once a week or once a month or however often that is, having dinner together or doing something together to ensure you have that time together. And it sounds like Hannah would even love to include Dave in that process. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about that, Megan?
Well, I kind of have two problems with that. Number one, my schedule, like, I just don't know. I don't know that I can just put something on the schedule.
Okay.
Like, my work schedule changes every 2 weeks. Like, my classes, we're getting close to finals. Like, I just don't know. I don't know that I can commit to that. And then, like, I'm kind of shocked to hear Hannah say that she wants to invite Dave over for dinner or to hang out because, like I said earlier, like, I've heard her talking bad about Dave on the phone to her other friends. So I just, like, that's, like, kind of coming out of left field for me.
Okay, so it sounds like Megan doesn't think that will work, and it sounds like the bigger concern here is she is a little bit confused at why you want to invite Dave all of a sudden. Do you have any issues with Dave?
No, I mean, I was just saying that because she's spending so much time with him that might as well not have him come over. And, like, me talking with my friends is only because when I was walking to history class the other day, I heard him talking to his friends about me, saying that like I was like too clingy and that I'm like not doing anything around the apartment, and that Megan is just saying that like I'm a crappy roommate, and because of that, and I'm like, so I felt a little bit kind of like judged a little bit by him, and I've never actually really talked to him that much. So that's why I'm saying like I genuinely think he's a good guy, but that's the only really impression I've gotten of him so far, is that he's talked about me, and it's just been hearsay.
And how does hearing that about what Hannah heard Dave say make you feel, Megan?
Well, if she, like, doesn't really feel like she's hung out with him, like, she hasn't put very much of an effort into hanging out with him, and then is just, like, automatically talking poorly about him and assuming things about him that I don't think are true, so it upsets me.
So would you like to see them possibly spending time together?
Absolutely. She's my best friend. Of course I want her to like my boyfriend, and I want my boyfriend to like her. But I don't appreciate her talking poorly about him when she's never put forth any effort to get to know him.
Okay, so
I could say the same thing for him, though. I mean, because he hasn't said, like, made an effort to, like, say hi to me or do anything either. So, I mean, and, like, I know you started dating him prior to us moving in together, so, like, I had seen him around, but I've never, like, actually hung out with him. And I don't really have an issue with him. It's just more of, like, when someone says something rude about me and they've never really, like, met me before, I don't appreciate that. So I was just kind of telling a couple of my other friends that were in my class that, like, I felt really hurt by that, and, like, this is kind of, like, makes me give a bad impression of him because he's never even met me. And so when I heard him say that, I'm like, well, then he must be some jerk that just makes assumptions based on stuff that he doesn't even know.
But why didn't you just come talk to me about that?
You're never there.
Why did I overhear you talking on the phone about it?
You're never there. So when I'm supposed to talk
I heard
to
you talking on the phone about it, though. Like, you could have come and talked to me then.
Well, at that point, I was like, well, I didn't really know how to approach it yet. I was like, I don't even know who Dave is. So, like, would you get upset? We hadn't really been hanging out recently. So I was really nervous about how you would react to me talking about him and saying, like, hey, I heard him say this. I thought you'd be very, like, defensive, which is kind of like you are right now.
So I think it sounds like to me that Dave is kind of a rough area in our friendship. Do you agree with that?
I mean, it's not really a rough area. It's just, I mean, he's a part of her life, and I respect that. But I would also appreciate the respect of, like, my friendship with Megan, but also, like, getting to know Dave and not being judged and not being, I don't want to have a bad impression of him. And right now I do, and I don't even know him.
What do you think?
I just feel like I am caught in the middle between my boyfriend and my best friend, and, like, they both, like, want 100%, and it's just causing a lot of unnecessary stress in an already busy life.
Definitely. So can we agree to maybe work on this friendship before we add Dave into this equation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So what is your ideal situation? I know you had said, like, maybe once a week or once a month, like, planning something. What's ideal for you? How often would you like to say, like, we're going to hang out this often?
I mean, it's not like I want it to be, like, on a schedule, like, create, like, a calendar. It's that before, like, our lives got busier and we had more involvements with jobs and school, we would hang out, and it was not like we needed to make a schedule. And I don't think, I'm like, I just want to make sure that we keep our friendship. And so that's the most important thing to me. And it's, and I just suggested, like, we know that we're going to go do this or something like that. But I know that our lives are busy, so it doesn't have to be a planned event because I wanted to get back to the way it was, but I know that can't happen because we've got more things in our life now that take, that are taking up space, but not, like, negative space. It's just we're growing up, and I think it's just hard for me to, like, accept that because it's happened really quickly and we haven't really been able to process it as friends.
Yeah, definitely. What does that look like for you, Megan? I know your schedule seems so busy with not only balancing your relationship with Dave and your relationship with Megan, but work and classes or Hannah, and all that. What does that ideally look like for you? Like, how often would you like to hang out with Hannah?
Well, I would like to hang out with Hannah, like, a couple times a week.
Okay.
I just don't know that that's, like, feasible right now. So I think I don't know that, like, I could commit to, like, every Monday night we make dinner, but I think we could definitely work together and say, like, we are hanging out at least once a week, just us. I think that's something that I could commit to.
Okay, and how does once a week sound for you? Not necessarily on a Monday, but maybe sometime between Monday and Sunday we're going to hang out at some point.
Yeah, that's fine. It just seems, though, that, like, now we're on, like, this calendar. And I know I said that earlier, but that was just me, like, a suggestion. And now I'm kind of thinking about that. I'm like, that really sounds silly because a friendship shouldn't be like that. I feel like it's, I don't know. I mean, I don't want it to be like, well, like, what if someone says something, or what if, Dave is like, well, we were going to do this night, and then we had originally planned something. I don't want that to cause another fight later on, and I just want it to be natural, but I know that's, with our schedules, it can't be like that. So, I mean, I'm fine with the once a week, but I don't want it to turn into something where, all right, I guess it's Friday night, we haven't hung out yet, we might as well hang out tonight because we haven't done it yet.
So do you think maybe...
I don't want it to be forced.
Okay, do you think maybe we can say for now we're going to attempt to hang out once a week, and maybe we can revisit this in a month and see if we weren't able to hang out once a week, maybe we can modify that agreement that we've come to.
Yeah.
So, I'd agree to that, yeah.
Okay, so let's agree to meeting once a week or hanging out once a week. Okay, perfect.
Can I also just add that, like, I don't want this to be, like, a big thing.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of like what Hannah's saying, like, maybe it's even just, like, watching This Is Us on Tuesday, or, like, making dinner. Like, it doesn't have to be, like, we're gonna, like, go get dinner and then go to a movie. Like, it could be very simple. Like, I agree, it's gonna feel very forced if we're, like, making official plans.
Well, it could even be something as simple as, let's go grocery shopping together, or... So, not necessarily, like, a whole day-long event, but we're going to agree to, once a week, try to do something based on our schedules. Okay, awesome. And will this include Dave, or will this not include Dave?
I think Hannah and I need to put effort into our friendship. And I think we need to focus on just us right now. And then once we get past the point, hopefully, of it feeling forced, then maybe we can consider including Dave in on this. Or maybe it just happens naturally.
Perfect. So for the time being, we're not going to say Dave needs to be included or doesn't. Do you agree to that?
That's fine.
Okay, perfect. So you also came with a couple other concerns. Do you have any other concerns at this point, Megan?
Yeah, I think the one thing that Hannah brought up that's, like, kind of upsetting to me, and I know that, like, talking about money is just kind of awkward anyways, but she brought up that I didn't pay the electric bill, and, like, I literally just forgot. It's not that I didn't want to or didn't have the money to, and, like, again, she didn't come talk to me about it. Like, she just left a nasty note on my bedroom door, and, like, it's just... Like I said, like, I have a lot on my plate, I just forgot, and, like, so she's getting on me for not paying a bill, but, like, she's not buying, like, our shared household supplies, like toilet paper and dish soap and, like, just stuff like that, and so I just don't understand, like, why she couldn't just come remind me, and when, like, I've kind of covered for her in the past, but, like, the one time I forgot, it was this big deal.
So how did you feel when you found that passive-aggressive note that, you needed to pay the bill?
Well, I was really mad about it, and I felt like it was just, like, another divide, and it was just another way of Hannah pushing me away. Like, she doesn't like Dave. Now she doesn't like, how I'm handling my money or, like, whatever. And again, I just wish she would have come and talked to me.
So I'm hearing Megan say that she just truly did forget to pay the bill. She didn't do it to make you mad or anything. How did it make you feel when she forgot to pay that bill?
I mean, it was just hard because it's in my name, and so I had told her, in advance, and it's not like we've been paying this bill for a while, and so like it's not like it was a brand new thing, and we know it's like the third week of the month, and so and I always send it in, and she knows it's in my name, and so we had been paying on time, and so it makes me worrisome because I like to get things paid on time, and I just didn't want that to penalize either of us, and I didn't want obviously our electric to be shut off for some reason, and because that wouldn't make the situation any better. So yeah, I just was kind of like surprised, and then with everything that had happened where we hadn't been making dinner together and all of that, it's kind of just building up, and it was kind of like, well, I guess maybe she's done being a roommate with me. She just is like kind of giving up.
So it sounds like both of you are kind of, all of the joint responsibilities have kind of fallen a little bit by the wayside, like paying the bills, doing the chores around the house or the apartment, those types of things. So how do you think we can reach an agreement so that we can continue to live together and not miss the bills or not run out of toilet paper or things like that?
I think one thing that I know some of our other friends have done is like they have this calendar that they have on their fridge, and it's like a whiteboard little calendar, and so like we could put on there like when like the electric bill's due and when like rent's due and stuff like that. So maybe that would help because I'm a visual person, and I think Megan is too for the most part. We're both very organized, so I think maybe that might be something. I know that like I've even done like just for my personal things. So maybe doing that and like in a central location, like it's in the fridge and it's on the fridge, and it's just like you see it when you open it up, and so you know that like if you're looking at the month, you're like, oh, I need to make sure that I get that part of the bill to whoever it needs to be to.
So it sounds like Hannah would like to put a calendar or a list somewhere where you can both see it. So a central location, so maybe in the kitchen, it sounds like the fridge maybe, or maybe the front door that you both leave out of. How does having a list like that sound to you?
Well, I think that's great, but like I think the bigger issue here is that we need to communicate. Like, again, she left that passive-aggressive note, and, like, that made me wait, like, an extra day before I actually got her the money. Like, if she just would have been like, hey, Megan, like, our electric was due yesterday or whatever, I would have been like, I'm so sorry, I forgot, I'll pay it. But I think the bigger issue here is not really, like, money, it's how we're communicating. So, like, yeah, a list is fine, and, like, I think, like she said, we both are organized, and sometimes it's nice to just, like, have a to-do list and cross stuff off, but, like, I think the bigger agreement that we need to reach is how we're going to communicate about our finances.
So what does that communication look like to you?
Well, I think that list is fine, but then I think just, like, reminders, like, talking to each other, like, a text, anything, like not being passive-aggressive, not leaving notes around the apartment.
So it sounds like Megan's saying, instead of writing that note, maybe send her a text, like, hey, the electric was due yesterday. I want to get that paid as soon as possible. Does that sound like something you would be willing to do instead of leaving those notes?
I mean, I'm fine with that. I just don't want it to be like, well, since I'm the person who's in charge of this bill, and I'm also the person who's in charge of, like, our like our Wi-Fi and everything. So like my name's on all this stuff, and so like then I mean I don't mind sending reminders, but it's like I'm constantly having to say, well, did I make sure that I sent a text to Megan about this, because it's never been an issue before. And so it was an accident, and I was just like in the heat of the moment. I was just like really upset that I had heard what David said about me, and so I think I just kind of reacted in a sense where I was like, I'm just gonna like I don't want to talk to her, so I'm just gonna put that note on her door, and I shouldn't have done that. But I was just really upset, and I think I was just kind of felt very judged and kind of put aside. So I also don't want it to be, though, that, like, we're roommates, so we both should be holding each other accountable. So I don't know if it always has to be me that's saying, hey, do we have this paid? Hey, do we have this done? Because then it's like I'm always following up. And I've made some mistakes of, like, not getting stuff from the grocery store. And so I think, like, when we went to the grocery store together, we would, like, obviously it was not an issue because we knew what we needed. And since we've kind of been splitting that now, and kind of some of us we've been going and then not together, I've forgotten a few things, and it's just been something that, like, I didn't realize we were missing that, and so, like, now I realize we needed it. So it's just been kind of like a weird change, and I just don't want it to be like, if I send a text like, hey, it's due, I don't want her to think that, like, oh, now she just needs money from me, she just wants money or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I don't want it to be like that.
So it
I
sounds,
forgot one time, and she's making a really big deal out of this.
So it sounds like we've worked through the Dave situation. If I'm hearing Hannah, we've talked about we're going to work on our friendship before we work on our Dave in this situation.
Mm-hmm.
And that maybe Hannah was a little upset about how much time you'd been spending with Dave.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why that might have happened. Is that correct? Is that accurate?
Yeah, I mean, it was like all happened around the same time that like I had heard Dave, and then like the electric bill was due and it wasn't paid, and so I was just like done dealing with like I just felt very like pushed aside and like kind of like alone, and so I was like, okay, fine, I guess if you know like if she's saying those things about me, or like that's kind of the impression that Dave's getting, then maybe she just doesn't like care about it anymore. So I'm like, fine. We didn't pay the electric bill, so.
So it sounds like we're both hurt in this situation. You were hurt because you felt, as we talked about earlier, that she wasn't really spending time with you, and you were hurt that she didn't talk to you and she left a note. So it sounds like maybe putting the calendar or a list in a general location is really what's going to help solve this problem, or at least help both of you so that you don't forget and that you don't feel like you have to remind her, because with everything on your plate, it's very easy to forget that. And you don't want to feel like you're nagging her, because you're not. You're just making sure that everyone's taken care of and all of the bills are taken care of. Does that sound like a good plan for both of you?
Yeah, I can agree to that. I think it would help both of us.
Yeah.
Perfect. So far we've agreed to that we're going to try and meet or do something together once a week without Dave. And it doesn't have to be a long, drawn-out thing, but maybe go to the grocery store together or watch a TV show after class one night. Do we still both agree to moving forward with that?
Yeah.
Perfect. And then we just agreed to putting a calendar or a list on the fridge when the bills are due to help both of us stay organized.
Yeah.
Yep.
So it looks like we should stop there and give you those two things to work on. And maybe we can check back in with you guys and see how things are going, and maybe those two things will help to ease the other situations you had. Does checking in like maybe a month sound good to both of you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Awesome. So I'll type these up and email them to you, and we'll check back in a month. How does that sound?